Moving on. Tonight we have a special edition of KSL Squared News.
Tonight we investigate the controversial death penalty in California and feature specific information on the Savings, Accountability, and Full Enforcement Act, or for short, SAFE Act, also known as California and the Death Penalty Act, that will be on the November 2012 ballot.
California has had quite a past with the death penalty. In 1978, California voters reinstated the death penalty via Proposition 7. 13 inmates have been executed in the past 34 years. The time between conviction and execution is 20 years.
The inmates have an unlimited amount of appeals until the judges refuse to take their cases. There are currently 725 people on death row in California. The crimes punishable by death penalty include first-degree murder with special circumstances, sabotage, train wrecking causing death, treason, perjury causing execution of an innocent person, and fatal assault by a prisoner serving a life sentence.
Currently, the death penalty in California is being debated over with the SAFE Act. The SAFE Act calls for an end to the death penalty in California and would use the money saved to solve murder and rape cases.
To learn about the supporters of the SAFE Act, let's go to Kelsy Green on site at San Quentin State Prison.
Thank you, Lauren. I'm here at San Quentin State Prison, the place where all executions take place in California. The SAFE Act is a controversial addition to the ballot. The supporters of the act include a former San Quentin State Prison warden, a retired federal judge, the Bishop of the Diocese of San Bernardino, a former District Attorney of LA County, the campaigner for the 1978 Proposition 7 campaign, Ron Briggs, and also the American Civil Liberties Union. Arguments that have been made in favor of repealing California's death penalty include saving the state money, that the death penalty is morally wrong, and that capital punishment carries the risk of executing innocent people. We were able to get a written statement from the American Civil Liberties Union, who is in favor of the SAFE Act, from their representative Ashley Morris. She commented on behalf of the ACLU that, quote, organizations and individuals, including the ACLU, support the SAFE Act because the death penalty in California is broken beyond repair. We have spent $4 billion on the death penalty in California since 1978 and only 13 people have been executed, end quote. The SAFE California Act would free up about $1 billion over the next 5 years, while the maximum sentence for a crime would be life in prison without possibility of parole. The SAFE California Act would also establish a SAFE California Fund, which would allocate a total of $100 million over 3 years to law enforcement for the purpose of solving more rape and murder cases. Supporters like the ACLU believe that this money would provide better justice and save the state needed money. Morris also wrote in her statement that, quote, the SAFE California Act will not only result in a fiscal benefit for the state, but it would eliminate our risk of ever executing an innocent person, end quote. There have been mistakes made in the past of convicting innocent people. In California court system, the inmates must be convicted in many appeal trials before being executed. Some think that these trials provide that the inmate is guilty beyond doubt, but supporters like the ACLU believe that the possibility of executing an innocent person is something that cannot be risked. They believe that the only way to be absolutely sure California never executes an innocent person is to replace the death penalty with life in prison without possibility of parole. Ron Briggs and Donald Heller, who wrote and campaigned for the successful Proposition 7 in 1978 that reinstated the death penalty, are now supporting the SAFE Act. Ron Briggs says that, quote, at the time, they were of the impression that it would do swift justice, but he and Heller now believe that the cost of California's system of capital punishment is so enormous that any benefit that could be obtained from it serves no effective purpose, end quote. Over time, California voters have added certain crimes to the list of crimes punishable by a death sentence. This means more trials are eligible for the death penalty than before, and more money is being spent on capital trials, security on death row, and legal representation for the condemned. This legal representation also adds up because the prisoners have an unlimited number of appeals until the judges refuse to take their cases. The fiscal impact of the SAFE Act is why many are supportive of the act. In the hard economic times that California is in, people seem to want to do anything they can to save money and to cut down on taxes. Many people now believe that the death penalty is not providing the proper justice to criminals because not many have been executed and that the system is too expensive to be intact. Back to you, Lawrence.
Thank you, Kelsey. Now we'll go to Shannon Menard to get the opponent's viewpoint.
Thank you, Lauren. I am here at the Capitol to discuss the viewpoint of the opponents of the SAFE Act. Opponents of the Act include a former U.S. Attorney, the Californians for Justice and Public Safety, and the Criminal Justice Legal Foundation. The Criminal Justice Legal Foundation petitioned to remove the SAFE Act from the November ballot because they say it violates the single subject rule for initiatives. We were able to get a phone interview with Kent Scheidegger, the legal director of the Criminal Justice Legal Foundation, to see the foundation's view on the SAFE Act. Let's take a listen.
Well, we think the death penalty serves a very important purpose. It is a penalty reserved for the very worst murderers, serial killers, people who kidnap, rape, and murder children, people who murder police officers in the course of their duty. For those cases, any lesser punishment is simply a travesty of justice. Well, the particular act is more than just repeal of the death penalty. The proponents of the act have joined together two unrelated provisions. One for repeal of the death penalty and the other for transferring some money out of the general fund. And that's a deceptive and unauthorized way to present an issue to the people of California. If they want to repeal the death penalty, they need to present that issue by itself straight up to the people of California. That's a constitutional requirement. So we don't have a real firm number on the cost of the death penalty. It takes far longer than it needs to. And whatever it does cost, it costs far more than it needs to.
As Scheidegger noted, most opponents of the act wish to keep the death penalty because they believe it will provide the proper justice for the victims and their families. They believe that the families deserve to have the criminals put to death, but also they believe, just as the supporters, that the death penalty system is broken. However, instead of getting rid of death row, they wish to execute the criminals on death row faster, therefore saving California taxpayer money by less legal representation and less appeals for the criminals. The Criminal Justice Legal Foundation says that the estimate of expenses for the death penalty is overinflated and that the true cost cannot be accounted for. The Criminal Justice Legal Foundation petitioned to remove the SAFE Act from the November ballot, citing Article 2, Section 8, Subsection D of the California Constitution, which says, "An initiative measure embracing more than one subject may not be submitted to the electors or have any effect." The Criminal Justice Legal Foundation says that this part of the California Constitution proves that the SAFE Act violates the single subject rule for initiatives. The Act calls to the end of the death penalty and provides money for law enforcement, which opponents say is too subject and is unfair to voters to have to decide on both in one initiative. The state courts will now decide on the constitutionality of the SAFE Act. Back to you, Lauren.
Thank you, Shannon.
As we have seen, both the supporters and the opponents believe that the death penalty system in California is broken, but each side has a different way for fixing it and for different reasons.
The supporters of the SAFE Act wish to rid California of the death penalty because they believe it will save the state money and also because they believe it is morally wrong.
The opponents of the SAFE Act think that the death penalty provides proper justice for criminals and that the SAFE Act combines too many subjects into one initiative.
We hope that this special news program will help you make your decision when it comes to voting this November.
From all of us here at KSL Squared News, we're the Laurens. Thanks for stopping by.
Stay classy, Granite Bay.